Today, we are taking a look at the battlefields that are available for the first set of Riftbound Tcg. Let's go! Alrighty, so this would be the last first impressions video for the first set of Riftbound Tcg. We've basically taken a look at all of the cards that are available for the game except the battlefields. So we made a video looking at Fury, Calm, Mind, Body, Chaos, Order, as well as the Proving Grounds and the signature stuff that comes with all the champions. So we've looked at all those, and the last thing that we need to do is look at the battlefields and kind of give a first impression into them, which kind of legends I expect would take a look at them, or what kind of decks would want to play such battlefields if they are even playable, that kind of thing. Alright, so to start we have Altar to Unity. When you hold here, play one recruit token in your base. So that one, so something like Garen would like this. Something like Victor would consider this, and yeah, the other decks maybe not so much. Maybe Aurora decks would consider this because they can easily hold, and getting units or recruits rather just bonus for them. So Aurora decks might kind of also want to consider playing this, right? Next we have Aspirant Climb. Increase the point needed to win the game by 1. Oh, okay. So this one's very cool. It's a different win condition that the game puts you. Not exactly different win condition, but it makes the game a little longer, right? So buy smart turns. So this one is probably like a game 2, game 3 type of battlefield. You probably more so game 2. If you know you're playing against aggro, you probably want to put this, so it makes it more difficult for them to win fast there, because obviously, you know, you need to get to 9 instead of the typical 8, right? So yeah, to make the game longer, something like maybe, I'm thinking, would Aurora want this? Probably Aurora would want this just because, you know, they don't care how long the games go. They will actually, no, they might not, because the opponent might catch up, so it might be good against Aurora too. But yeah, that's a few things to consider. But yeah, I could see this getting played just because it's definitely a counter to aggro. And then yeah, increasing the points needed to win by game 1, or but win the game by 1. Why not? Like, if you know that you're better, like, you can probably get there. Any deck that's also probably like, you know, they're more late game focused, but probably gonna want this because they could probably hit 7, and like that last point becomes very difficult sometimes, but increasing it to the extra one give him enough time to get to that last part easier. Next we have Back Alley Bar. When a unit moves from here, give it +1 this turn. Okay, we need it to move from here. Alright, so Yasuo probably loves this, you know, because you can just move a unit from there to somewhere else and they get the +1 buff, right? So that's pretty good. Thinking if anything other decks would want this. Misfortune would want this because Misfortune can grant ganking, and then the unit can move from here to somewhere else and it'll be stronger. So those are two that I could see it. Next we got Bandle Tree. You may hide an additional card here. Oh, alright. Teemo, of course, it makes sense. Bandle. You can hiding an additional card is so powerful in Teemo, so Teemo would definitely want this. I don't know if any other color or legend would kind of play along with this because they don't get the benefit as much as like something like Teemo. So yeah. Next is Fortified Position. When you defend here, choose a unit. Gains shield 2 this combat. Let's do while it's the defender. Alright. This one might not actually. This one too actually might not. This one may be, but like this, the problem with this is a super strong effect, right? Yeah, I was talking about this. Just go back to this real quick, because this also applies to your opponent, right? So if you're playing an opponent that kind of can hold easily, yeah, that might be a problem. But maybe now that I think about it, maybe Ari wants this because, you know, it's just an extra bonus for holding and you're trying to protect it to keep holding anyways. So yeah, so but go back to this one here. Like automatically my mind went to Master Yi, but at the same time you kind of don't want to give this to your opponent. This is such a strong effect, you know, where your opponent automatically gains +2. You kind of negate your Master Yi, for example, if that's where you play it as an attacker. Right, you just kind of negate, so you don't want to be having this this effect here. While yes, it will put you +4 when you're defending, you have to also defend alone. But yeah, it's a good effect. It just you just don't want to do it to your opponent. You know, that kind of feels bad. Next is Grove of the God Willow. When you hold here, draw a card. Same thing is probably like Ari. I kind of want this. MF probably don't care, Aurora, because they don't want to draw as much, because they want to keep their units being played by Aurora, and drawing cards kind of put you at risk of, instead of actually being able to be played by Aurora, you end up drawing those big cards. Well, yes, it's okay, and because you could play them, it's just better when you can play other cards and Aurora plays the good cards and from your deck, good units rather, while you play the spells and stuff like that. So yeah, and then other decks that could hold, well, let's see, Ari, we're gonna talk about Ari, maybe Teemo, just because Teemo has hidden, so sometimes it's annoying, so just kind of hold for some parts, maybe Volley, you know, draw is good. Lux, if Lux is a way to hold well, this is a very good for Lux, just because draws it's a good effect for Lux. Next we have Hollow Tomb. When you hold here, you may return your chosen champion from your trash to your champion zone if it's empty. Oh, that's fun. We do not want that though, because we probably don't want this, because your opponent getting access to the exact same thing feels really strong, because that's automatically a card that they have that's always going to be playable. So maybe this might not be the best, right? Yeah, we don't want that to happen to your opponent as well. Next we have Monastery of Hirana. When you conquer here, you may spend a buff to draw one. Okay, so this one here, this is the type of card that we want when you have an effect like this where it can happen to both players. Why is that the case? Because your opponent might not be playing a buff deck. You play this in your buff decks, so you can get the effect, and your opponent, you will get the effect more than your opponent will, right? And that means that they're very strong. Obviously the hold, if you can't answer your opponent, it is what it is. But this one here, just you conquer, and you get if you have a buff, and most likely in your buff decks, you will be conquering with something with buff, so you can just spend that to draw. So I expect to see this one see a lot of play. Next we have Navori Fighting Pit. When you hold here, buff a unit here. This one, like I said, with this hold stuff, it is what it is. Obviously, in buff decks, you would consider this. I want to see the other ones if we'd want to actually play this in a buff thing. If you have no other option, we'll put it in our 3 battlefield of our choosing. But there's probably other stuff that are better. Obelisk of Power. At the start of each player's first beginning phase, that player channels one. What the? Okay, so this one feels really insane. I'm gonna bring it up again, but Aurora, this is crazy. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I remember saying on a video that you play the 4 cost that channels 2 runes in Aurora, but I just realized if you're playing Volibear, you could also go with the 1. So basically what happens is turn 2, you get 3 runes, you play the 1 that get the channels you 1 rune. That's puts you at 4. And then you get 2, you play a mighty, Volibear channels another one, and turn 2 you're basically at 7, right? So you turn 1, 3 runes, and then the one that play the card that channels a rune, that's 4. Next turn you gain 2, so you're at 6. Volibear, or you play a mighty, and then Volibear goes to 7, and the turn after you're at 9, ready for an Aurora. So yeah, Volibear can just do it as easy without or with the channel rune. This though, for sure you want to be playing this in Aurora. Yes, your opponent gains 1 rune, but the advantage of gaining a rune for you is much more than your opponent will get. Especially when your second turn, when you get to 4 in the start, I wonder if there's a way. 4, 5, 6. Yeah, if you start with 4, channel 4, 5, 6. Oh no, you're still short 1. There isn't a way to get Aurora by turn 2. Yeah, I'll have to think about it some more if there is a way, if I could math that out correctly. But because that would be crazy. But yeah, either way, because if you don't draw channeling or cards that could channel you runes, right? Like if that can't happen, having something like this can help you get to that spot faster as well. So definitely playable. And you play this in orange, just because yes, the advantage doesn't really it changes, but you're both still have you both will still have the exact same kind of like idea. It just obviously your mulligan just changes and that stuff, but first player will still have access to playing the first units at 1 less rune. So yeah. Next we have Reverse Row. When you defend here, you may move a friendly unit here to base. Oh. I mean, that okay. Actually, that seems decent on some decks. Basically, if you know your thing is gonna die, just run it away. So yeah, I can see this being playable. Obviously, it kind of sucks to your opponent, but if you know how to play the game, this card should be used to your advantage. What do I mean by that? So something like your opponent retreats, right? Because they don't want to die, and for the Reverse Row, now you started kind of just buffing up that battlefield, and now they can't come back to that battlefield ever in the game, right? Or if they know how you play, or if you know your basically how your opponent plays, you think they're gonna do a play like that, just let your thing die. It's the same, or you turn it back, right, and then just figure it out from there rather than letting it die. Yeah, I think you always get that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you just play this card. It's annoying, but at the same time, not bad. Next is Reckoner's Arena. When you hold here, activate the conquer effects of units here. Oh, okay. So if you have a lot of conquer, when I do this, when I do that, on the conquer part, they get the effect of this when you hold. So this is another one of those things here, like Monastery of Hirona, where if your deck actually uses the effect, you just play this because your opponent might not have that, and you get the higher upside for that. Next is Sigil of the Storm. When you conquer here, recycle one of your runes. Alright, so this one here is also really strong. You probably play this in Volibear, you'll play this maybe in Aurora decks, but yeah, like this effect is so strong because your opponent basically is also forced to do that. So if you as a deck has an advantage where recycling, you can basically view the recycling the runes as not a huge downside. So for example, Volibear, if they recycle runes, it's whatever, they play a big unit, they just channel that rune again. Something like Sigil of the Storm is really good in that, right? So yeah, this card is very good. So I expect this to see a lot of play in the decks that really can take advantage of that. Alright, next is Star Tip Peaks. When you hold here, you may channel one rune exhausted. Similarly, some decks, they don't really utilize the use of having extra runes. Some do. For example, like I said, there a Volibear. Volibear could be decent, like with something like this. So we've seen a few of those already, and then Ari could be good with this, just because we also have that Time Warp Ari combo that we were talking about the other video. So having more runes to do that, the faster you could do it, and then at 5, the bigger threat you could be, right? So something like this would probably be beneficial on that, because you don't care what your opponent's runes are, you just care about yours. There are decks though that you'd probably care what your opponent has, so you gotta be careful, right? So yeah, so if you're versing against Volley, this kinda is booty because you kinda don't want them. So you gotta make sure you kill them, right? So things like that. Next is Targon Speak. When you conquer here, ready 2 runes at the end of the turn. Oh, I love this, and this is like the Annie effect, but when you conquer, that is very strong. This one here is probably one of, if I would say right now, probably one of the better ones, better neutral ones, because yeah, your opponent can ready 2 runes. They also need to play around, make sure they have that answer. But yeah, every time you conquer, you just have 2 runes. You will have options and options for days. The threat of having it and having it in your hand is more than actually having it sometimes. So being able to have the 2 runes is already huge. Next, the arena's greatest. The start of each player's beginning phase, that player gains 1 point. Alright, this one's cool too. Now for this one, definitely you want this in like the more aggressive decks, maybe even Ari. Those are the 2 where I can see it, because those decks, you don't care if your opponent gains the 1 point, you just really care that you could get faster to the winning point, right? So that's what this battlefield is meant for, is for those decks where you just care that you'd get to the point faster than your opponent will, which is aggro and Ari right now. Time Warp Ari, that is. Next, the Candlelit Sanctum. When you conquer here, look at the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may recycle one or both. Put those that you don't back in any order. So this one, Teemo, right? You want to look at the top 2 cards and maybe hopefully pop a Nocturne in there, right? So that's where this one fits. This one could also be very good in Lux, right? We want to make sure we get those answers so that our Lux can be spellsling, drawing us cards, that kind of thing, and making sure we have we always have an answer in our hand for our opponent's board. So yeah, Candlelit Sanctum, I expect to see that being played quite a bit as well. The Dreaming Tree. The first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here each turn, draw 1. Alright, so this one would be played on essentially any deck that you would want to choose your friendly unit. So any green deck might probably play this, or consider at the very least playing this, right? Obviously the draw 1 is crucial because that is super strong to give to your opponent as well, but thankfully it's only the 1 time that you choose. And yeah, if you have ways to choose friendly units, so like I said, they're like in green, there's a good bit, right? And purple can do it as well with like all the movement stuff. Yeah, that's probably what this those those are probably the decks that would probably consider using that. Next is the Grand Plaza. When you hold here, if you have 7+ units here, you win the game. Wow. Alright, so Victor, it's probably gonna be playing this because I just don't know how easy it is. Okay, how easy it is. How easy it is. How easy is it to get 7+ units? I believe there are some cards that could get you there, right? Yeah, I think it is very, very possible. So I would expect Victor in a way that it's actually designed to win in Grand Plaza. Now that I think about it, how do you build a deck in terms of battlefields? Like, do you build your deck for a specific battlefield, and then when you're not using that battlefield, you take out those cards that are meant for that battlefield from your side deck, right? That's an option. That's a way of deck building, and that's very, very cool. You can definitely explore that, and I'll definitely be exploring that once the game comes out, if that's a viable option, or if it's just side deck like it normally would, in a sense that you just play counters to other decks that are popular in the format, so that you make sure that your sideboard is able to handle anything. My gut says that is the play, where you make sure your deck is spread out and it can handle anything, but I would like to really explore the other option, because essentially you're going in kind of blind, right? And if your opponent kinda is teching, for example, for cards that say, for example, Grand Plaza, right? Your opponent started teching in cards thinking you were keeping some of the cards that will give you recruits, and you just remove those cards and play something else. Now your opponent has some poor tech choices, maybe, right? So, because you didn't care about what they play, or you care about what yours is doing. So if that's the case, that's a really crazy thing, and I don't think I've ever seen something like that in a card game where siding works that way, and that is crazy. That opens up a whole new avenue of deck building, which is insane. So very good that that's a possibility. If it is good, then that's very awesome. If it's not, at least it's a good brain exercise. Next is Trifarian Warcamp. Units here have +1. This includes attackers. Do we like this? This actually just doesn't matter. This one, if you have no other battlefields, or scared that your opponent will, get for your opponent's card, just play this. It just basically it's almost as if it's just a 0. It's not a buff, so it's just a +1. Oh, actually no, this does matter. I just realized this matters in Volibear type decks, where, or maybe Victor too, for to some extent, because your units become bigger, and those snowball fast because you have so many of them. They add up really, really quickly. This +1s compared to what your opponent will have. But Volibear is the one as well, where now you have actual mighty units. Even at 4 might, you'll have mighty units. So yeah, almost done actually. Wow. Vile Maw Slayer units can't move from here to base. Wow, that's a third game card against a Yasuo if I've ever seen one. That's crazy. Also, this is very good in Misfortune, because Misfortune is gift them ganking, so units cannot move from here to base. Misfortune can move from battlefield to battlefield, so that's crazy. That's actually insane. So yeah, that's very dope. That's cool. I like that, and yeah, I expect this to see a lot of play. Next is Void Gate. Spells and abilities affecting units here. Each deal 1 bonus damage. Oh, Kaisa will play this, and the Spellslinger Annie would probably play this. would we play this with the other Annie? Probably. So each damage is 2 bonus damage. That's actually quite strong. At that point, then yes, you will 100% consider playing Annie over Kaisa. That's a possibility that could happen. So yeah, those are like the first 2 that I could think of. Lux probably would just try this as well, right? So yeah. Next here, Windswept Hillcock units here have ganking. That is so cool. Yeah, if this get match up with Wild Moss there, everyone's just gonna move left and right. That's funny. Yeah. This is obviously a Yasuo type card, right? Excuse me. Yasuo just makes things move, or yeah, Yasuo just makes things move. And then if they have move here, they have ganking, they go to the other battlefield. Yeah, that's how it's gonna work. So that's cool. I also expect obviously Aurora again to have this. Ganking on Aurora is insane. It doesn't even have to be MF now. You know, you play this on Volley, for example, Volibear Aurora, play this. The unit has ganking, move it to the other side, boom. And lastly, we have Son Warrant. When you conquer here, discard 1 and then draw 1. This is just Jinx. This is just Annie. Yeah. Although, to be fair, this is a very, very good card. I know for the opponent, maybe... I mean, it's going to be beneficial for them too, because discarding 1 and then drawing 1 is always good. So when you have something like trash, like not trash, sorry, but garbage or not good cards in your hand, right? You just conquer on here, and then hopefully the next draw you get is better. But if not, you're at least 1 card deeper to get making it better, right? So this one's good. This one's really good. Your opponent, yeah, they probably would use this too. But yeah, with something like this, it's just good because you have 2 battlefields. You'll just end up taking one of them whenever you need. Like, you'll take this rather whenever you really need to, or if you can afford to, right? But yeah, so those are the battlefields there. There are some that are heavy standouts, right? This one stands out for Teemo decks, of course. This one stands out for buff decks, right? So those are cool. This one for things like Volibear, those are strong. Same with this. Yeah, this one probably one of the strongest here too. This one's really strong too. Yeah, there's plenty of good ones here, so definitely a lot of variety here. Yeah, this one stands out for Victor Garen stuff. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of variety, which is nice because it gives us a little bit more options, and the game kind of, becomes not always the same. And obviously we're going to have more of these, so the more of these we have, the more variety our games will have. So that is really, really good. Yeah, the only obvious thing is once the meta develops, it's probably going to be the same. But like I said, there because of I saw this card, there's probably ways where you build your decks around battlefields that you are wanting to play, so that adds another layer, which is really, really crazy. And I hope the game continues that way, because that is cool, and I hope there is that idea of deck building is good, because that's gonna be because why am I saying that? I'm just gonna say it. Whenever our view of side deck basically hasn't changed from most card games, it is always to add cards to help counter some matchups that are a little bit more difficult for you to win, right? But if you could just side deck and turn your deck into a different deck, that can throw off so much stuff, and that can be really sick. So yeah. Anyways, that is it. So we are complete with the cards here. These are just the signature and alt art cards. Oh, there's also a buff token in here. That's dope. That's very cool. Lulu, which we don't have a card, and Senna, which we don't have a card. So expecting that maybe we will have those coming in the future. It's got a little bit of a spoiler in here. Yeah, we have Volley, we have a Vi card, we have a Yasuo card, so unless these are going to be legends as well, that would be really, really dope, right? Although it's super weird to have Yasuo here when Yasuo really doesn't care about, I won't say doesn't care, but not really a buff deck, right? So, alright, so we're done with looking at all the cards for the first set of Riftbound Tcg, which is Origins. I thank you all for watching the videos here. If you did enjoy them, please give me a like and subscribe. Turn on that notification. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and drink your veggies.